Oh no. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia, and today we are diving on into more BAND-MAID. I'm going to be reacting to their acoustic performance of the song Puzzle. Now, this was a little bit tricky for me to actually get my hands on, just to find the video performance of the acoustic version of Puzzle. I couldn't find it on YouTube. I had trouble finding it through Google searches. But thankfully, I had a little bit of help. Shout out to the BAND-MAID fan page, BAND-MAID Masters and Princesses. A few people as part of that fan page reached out to those who they reckon would have the videos of this performance. And I had more than one person actually reach out to me being like, this group asked me to help you get this. Here it is. Here's the link. Go react to it. Have fun with this song. Looking forward to it. So I am super keen to dive on into this one. Thank you so much to the BAND-MAID Masters and Princesses Facebook fan page. Without you, I probably wouldn't have been able to get my hands on this performance. And thank you to those who sent me links and files and encouragement to react to this video. So without further ado, let's dive on in.
初めましてのそんな一言でパズルピースがはまる音がしただけどきっと君は覚えてないバタフライ with me 憂鬱な意味の中光差し込む一発くれたんだ無邪気な笑顔でそのままでいいと叶わない恋でも何番だって構わないからさねえそんなの嘘だよ見えない知らない苦しいだけだよだけど知りたい渇望に抵抗できない今だけでいいから侵食されてゆけ声に出せば止まらなくなるちぎって君は抱きしめた外に出ればなんでもない二人私だけの願い
Oh, this is beautiful. I mean, I get this feeling of like longing and pain in the way that Saiki's delivering those vocals, not just from her facial expression, but also the singing itself. There are times where, yes, she might be gasping for air, or there's a little bit of a breakage to the sound, but to be honest, that makes it seem more emotional to me. and I'm going to look up the English translation afterwards. So this feeling that I have might be wrong. Maybe we'll look up halfway through, but at the moment I'm getting this feeling of, yeah, there's this feeling of longing in the music, in the melody as well, but maybe that's just because of the way that it was also set up with the toy piano sounds in the beginning. I actually found that really relaxing, but it does make me think of, it's a very lonely sound when it's played by itself. I don't know, I just get that feeling of it's like this pure, bright tonal quality from the toy piano, and it's just echoing out into nothing like this tiny little precious sound, but there's nothing else around it. So I get this feeling of it almost being like a lonely feeling, and matching that with her current vocal approach, I get a strong sense of longing in this particular song. And I don't quite know how that fits in with the concept of puzzle. Maybe when I look at the lyrics, that will illuminate itself a little bit more. But for now, few things that I just want to chat on vocally. But before I dive on into breaking down Saiki's vocals, I just want to quickly mention Kanami's backup singing. She's done a really lovely job of holding those sustains there. It's perfectly balanced, and I feel like we get the benefit of their harmonization there with her playing the acoustic guitar. I mean, I know that it's amplified and it's plugged in, so it's not really acoustic, but you get a different timbre from a guitar that is built the way the one she's playing is actually built, where you still have the benefit of there being like that resonating cavity, that like drum like space behind the strings compared to your pure electric guitar. The timbre is just slightly different. I'm pretty certain she's playing steel. I don't get nylon string timbre whatsoever in her playing. Could be wrong, but I think it sounds really cool, the fact that they've chosen to use an acoustic guitar for this kind of sound. I think I've mentioned in a video before, I find it to come across as a little bit more intimate sounding when it's just a vocalist and one instrument, or a vocalist and only a few instruments, and it's kind of stripped back in that way. Anyway, moving past those backing vocals, lovely sustain, onto Saiki's singing. So she opened with something that was actually really well connected. It had quite a bit of flow in between each of the vowels. And then as it kept going and the phrasing became a little bit more hectic, the sound started to tense up. So let's have a little listen to that.
初めましてのそんな一言でパズルピースがはまる音がしただけどきっと君は覚えてない
Yeah, so beautiful connectivity through the vowel work. We have a little bit of like a harsher onset onto those consonants, but for the most part, it's actually fairly well connected. I quite like it as the setup for the song, because if you hit it with constriction from the get-go, just for my personal listening tastes, I like something that is a little bit open. It doesn't have to be all the time, but it's just a nice way to invite the ears into being like, what's going to happen? So I like that she opened with that, but as we progress, we start to get a little bit more compressed. There's a little bit more constriction in the sound.
なんだって構わないからさねえそんなの嘘だよ見えない知らない苦しいだけだよだけど知りたい渇望に抵抗できない今だけでいいから侵食されてゆけ声に出す
Beautiful. Okay, so diving on into there, you have the strength of the sound that she's using, because there is constriction, a bit of press in that particular sound. It comes across as sounding like, it's like, look at that facial expression. Even just what we've paused on there, it sounds like her heart is breaking. I'm gonna feel like such a doofus if I look at those lyrics and that's not what it's about. But this is the feeling that I'm getting when I'm looking at her facial expressions and listening to her singing paired with the music. Anyway, so you could hear through that passage there, she started to become a little bit more tight, particularly around the vowels. The consonants, I wouldn't say became any more pressed than what they were before, but the vowels became quite heavy. And when you're trying to do heavier sounds and then release into sort of a softer mechanism, her softer mechanisms are breaking slightly. I don't know how it sounds for you guys, but to me, that sounds really emotional for this to have this breathy, breaky sound at the top. It's almost like we can't quite catch our breath. Something is happening that's got us feeling emotional. And there's that power of the compression through the sound. I think I mentioned in another video that if you use constriction and compression and it becomes quite pressed, you lose the capacity to involve other colors, at least the colors that come from being able to work with the vowel, because you kind of restricted yourself to one particular form of compression. Otherwise, it doesn't sound consistent anymore, and you'll lose the power that you've just tried to gain by utilizing more constriction in the pharynx. But regardless, we're getting some really interesting storytelling through here with that constriction. So we'll look at the lyrics later, see if it tees up. But for now, that's just something to bear in mind. I've mentioned before with Saiki's vocals that there's what sounds suitable for your style and what is creatively more fun and sounds cool. And then there's looking after your vocal health. I remember you mentioned that she'd had some surgery, I think for nodules. Nodules, one of the ways you can get nodules, or one of the ways that's suggested that you get nodules, is from phonotrauma. And currently, one of the biggest things that we've observed that may contribute towards phonotrauma are things like hard adduction, which is where the vocal folds squeeze together. So along the lines of your press phonation and basically smacking your vocal folds together in a way that is quite hard. You build up a lot of subglottic pressure, which means you actually need more breath flow. They smack even harder. It's kind of like it's a cycle that you keep going through because you want more sound. But anyway, we can dive on into this later if we want. In the comments, you also mentioned that Saiki's had to do a little bit of a rearrangement of how she approaches touring and organizing a concert, and that as a group, they've started to make choices so that her voice can sing in the way that she wants it to now and still get through like the whole concert without it hurting her or putting her at risk. I think that's super clever, super smart, particularly if you're in a style which does, like, the ear just desires some of these more taxing sounds, those taxing vocal qualities. So I think that's super smart, super clever. Anyway, let's keep going. That's where we're at with it right now. I am loving the tie-in from the toy piano into the emotional content that she's delivering with her face and her voice at the moment. Of course, I'm going to feel like a goose if I'm wrong on what it's about, but she's making me feel things. I'm just saying what it is. Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, I have a feeling we've led back up into that chorus again. Where do you breathe in those phrases? She has this much space to breathe in them. Some of them are going to have natural spaces for you to intake new air for the new phrase, but there are quite a few phrases where I can guarantee you, your beginner singers, they're going to want to breathe mid-phrase, and she doesn't. So I thought that was actually pretty well done. Like, you could hear some experience in the way she approaches the music there, because beginners want to breathe everywhere, and she doesn't. So I really liked that. Let's go back and re-listen to the phrasing. She's got to keep that energy there as well, which means consistency from here, consistency here. Got to keep that there, otherwise the tone's going to vary quite wildly if you can't keep the thing that's making your vocal folds move, and you can't keep the thing that the sound resonates and amplifies in consistent. You're not going to get the same sound. Simple as that. So another note on when she's going up for those high notes, we get that breakage. The reason why it can be harder to connect through a softer mechanism is if we've used a lot of compression and press to get power and drive through one particular part of our range. It can be hard for our vocal folds to disengage from that to give us like a balanced connected sound up through the upper register. But again, I don't know if that's what she's going for. We are going to have a quick look at the lyrics after whatever is about to happen next, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I just wanted to make that note as well, just in case you're like, okay, cool. So you explained how it emotionally connects, but what's actually happening there? And that's what's happening. She's using one particular vocal setup, and it's more of a driving vocal energy as opposed to something that's easy to kind of enter and exit from because it's so heavily on one particular, I guess, goal. It's hard to like switch out of it. It's kind of like if you load all of your weight into one leg and you're like really putting the weight on one leg to go to the other one can be harder, especially if the vocal folds are not used to like navigating that quickly. Maybe the other leg is not a good example, but like if your muscular energy is all going into one activity, to suddenly disengage from that activity into another one requires more agility and flexibility than what Saiki's demonstrating right here. But that doesn't necessarily mean that wasn't her goal, is to have that emotional like breakage to her sound. Okay, perfect demonstration of exactly what I was talking about before. Thank you, Saiki. That's awesome. That's an awesome example. So you might notice how when she went into that particular section there, the voice sounded a lot more open and less like pressed or constricted. That is the kind of setup that would be very easy to navigate up into second register cleanly, to maintain like a balanced phonation between the lighter mechanism approach in her first register there going up into the second register. So that's kind of, I guess, what I was talking about. And as she goes through this phrase, you can hear the escalation of that like driving energy in her sound, of that restriction and compression that's going on in her pharynx. So I would love for us to listen to that again. The vowel work is so much freer in the beginning of this section. I think she would find it much easier to go up to a second register from this particular setup here than the one that she utilizes for the majority of this, which is first register, high energy, almost like a very sharp pointed resonance. It's very strong. It comes across as sounding more powerful, but there's not as much wiggle room for the vowels, and there's a lot of mass going on at the vocal fold level, hard to disengage from when you're wanting something softer with less mass involved. But yeah, let's re-listen to that section, because that is the perfect example of what I'm talking about when I mean compression and constriction in the pharynx, giving you different vocal qualities, but also at the vocal fold level, she's not using quite as much mass here. It sounds a lot more connected and flowy. So I guess you could say she's getting more flow phonation through this particular section, whereas the other style of singing has a lot of character and storytelling and drive to it. But mechanically, it'd probably be easier for her to go to second from this particular setup here.
使わないライター並んでるグラス新しい服も Don't cry 君の抜け殻さ終わりの見えない
More drive.
夢を見たいだけ目覚めてしまうの Don't lie 信じさせてくれ見えない知らない苦しいだけだけど知りたい渇望に抵抗できな 記憶瞳閉じてまた君に落ちてく
Oh my god. Okay, so the ending did me in. She used a softer vocal setup, a little bit of aspiration, breakage in the sounds. Her body language is holding herself inwards, like she's like trying to self-soothe. Self-soothe. That's a tongue twister. Like she's trying to self-soothe. And yeah, dang. I just it like made my eyes glisten just a little bit. They got a bit misty up there because it just looks like her heart is breaking. I'm gonna feel like the biggest goose if this is wrong. I have to look at these lyrics now. Otherwise, I'm gonna feel like a silly Billy. Puzzle. Could you imagine? This whole time I'm banging on about her emotional connection, and then the emotional connection is not what the song's about. Oh no. Puzzle BAND-MAID lyrics English. Nice to meet you just like that. With a few words, I heard the puzzle pieces fall into place. Though I'm sure you don't remember, but that's fine with me. Inside the gloomy darkness, you gave me a place for the light to shine through. I hope you keep your innocent smile, even if our love is ill-fated. I knew it! Oh, God, okay. I don't mind if I'm in the second place. No! Hey, those are all lies. Damn straight they are. I can't see. I don't know. I'm just suffering, but I long to know the truth. I can't help it. Just for the meantime, go ahead and get encroached. Once I speak out, there's no going back. I know that you've embraced her. It wouldn't hurt for you two to go outside. That's my only wish, sweetly melting away like candy. You'll disappear someday too, leaving only your sly look and scent behind, but that's fine with me. On this night alone, I wonder where you are, what you're up to. Whenever I think about it, I can't sleep. I can't say that since it's selfish. You've got a good girl waiting for you. I already know the answer. I can't do it. I can't even say it. The truth is that I already know I'm not allowed to hold you. Well, that sense of longing that they conveyed exceeds the language barrier. Yes, cool. This is kind of heartaching, to be honest. That's really tough. I understand the puzzle. Oh, she's found someone who she feels like completes her, like the puzzle, and now she'll be technically incomplete. Ooh, there are notes. Notes down the bottom. Puzzle is about someone who fell in love with a cheating husband. Oh no. This can only end badly. The song describes her love for him even though she knows she must hide it from his wife, and she does feel guilty for being in love with him. Okay, so hiding her love for the husband from his wife, or are they like, you know? Okay. Saucy. Translation makes it seem like she's longing to be with this person who completes her. The emotions of this person in the story are definitely being conveyed, like quite clearly, through the music and the vocal tone and the vocal approach. I've kind of touched on everything that I probably wanted to mention, except just to reiterate again, I'm really impressed with Kanami's backing vocals. Like, she's consistent. Those long sustained vowels are actually often where people's weaknesses when it comes to breath flow and consistency will show up. Like, the first endurance exercises that I will usually give to a beginner are just things that get their breath flow moving for longer periods of time, because part of singing is being able to get through a phrase without having to breathe in the middle of it like a gasping fish. Like, you need to be able to keep that sustain going, and the solo, like, sustained vowel, the sustained vowel is sometimes where things will crop up that really expose your singing technique. You might waver, your dynamics might be all over the place, you might fall flat, fallen off the note. Strong indicator you need to train down here a little more. You need to get your breath flow and support, continuing to build an endurance to last you through these phrases. So, you know, I'm quite impressed with Kanami's vocals there, and of course with her playing the guitar. Like, I think that each of these girls as musicians from all of BAND-MAID, I think they're pretty top notch at what they do. I've been impressed with most of the things that I've watched thus far, not just from a vocal standpoint, not just from a style standpoint, but from a musicianship standpoint. Like, what they're executing is to a pretty high standard. I enjoy that aspect of the song as well. Like, there's nothing that's happening musically that diminishes my enjoyment of it, and in fact, it enhances it. Just a point on the vocals, you might notice that Kanami is using less vocal mass in her sounds, And that is all she has to do. She's the backing vocalist, whereas Saiki is going to be bringing things from her own personality and the stylistic things that people will expect from her vocally because she is the soloist. They have different roles. If Saiki had pulled back, it starts to change who the vocal focus is on, and that can be a little confusing. Soloist, you are meant to guide the story. It's almost like you're the narrator for the music. You're very important to the telling of the story. If you disappear, people are like, who are these extras? Anyway, my point is the music and the vocals and the storytelling, it all supports one another into the main musical thing that we just enjoyed together here. I enjoyed this, starting from the moment that toy piano was in the beginning, which I think was just almost like a segue leading into the acoustic performance. Like that's pretty cool. Anyways, I think I might leave that one there today, guys. If you are enjoying this video, go check out some of the other BAND-MAID videos. The first one I ever reacted to from them, which was Freedom. Gosh, that was just so much fun. We had Freedom and we had Wonderland. Yes, those two. If you haven't gone and watched those reactions, I elucidate a little bit more on some of the influencing factors that might be in Saiki's vocals. So if you haven't watched them, go check them out. But if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like, click the subscribe button and the bell notification beside it for more just like this one. As usual, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy, and I will see you next time.